Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
There's also some like a peppering of magic realism in ways in this film. A lot of it is, some of it you're like, you don't realize it when you're watching it, but afterwards you're like, whoa, what was that fire scene? That was weird.
Yeah,
like,
it's really
they go to
dreamlike.
a weird party, don't they? This
Yeah.
weird party
So
of
New Year's Eve
Americans,
party.
maybe. Welcome to episode 92.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Flixwatcher podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Helen
Hello.
and Sam
Hello.
and Kelly,
Hi,
or Killy,
Kelly.
from the Curzon Cinema Podcast, and we're going to be talking today about Alfonso Cuarón's film Roma. As always, guys, we have all the show notes online at flixwatcher.tv for all the episodes, so please come and visit us there. Of course, join us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and please come to iTunes, rate us, and subscribe.
Warning, there will be spoilers, there will be bad language. As always, the films that we're reviewing were available to stream at the time of recording. Hello and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast. Joining us today are Kelly and Sam. If you would like to say hello to our listeners and tell them about the podcast you do, please.
Well, hello, listeners.
Hello, listeners.
So we're from the Curzon Film Podcast. It's a weekly podcast that touches on the latest film coming out at Curzon Cinemas that week.
Yeah, so we're up to 2 films a week now. We sometimes tack on a few more. And we have special guests each week as well. Mm-hmm. So in the past, we've had Greta Gerwig, we've had Sir Ian McKellen, excuse me.
Yeah.
Paul Dano, Willem Dafoe, amongst many others.
Nice.
Mark Gatiss was on there recently.
Mark Gatiss came on to talk about The Favourite.
Yeah. How do you kind of rank the films? How do you class the films that the Curzon chooses? Because you don't tend to have the super mega blockbusters of Transformers.
Yeah.
Is that a godsend?
I don't know. Sometimes you want to talk about those big ones. And sometimes they do have it.
Yeah.
But we sort of will cover artificial eye films.
So we're looking more at the kind of more art house, more perhaps quote unquote prestige films.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too much of a snob about it, but I think that's probably the best way to describe the films.
Yeah. Also, the smaller films, sometimes they don't get so much publicity. Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing with podcasting, especially what you guys at Curzon do. And also you have the Curzon at Home. Is it Curzon at Home?
Curzon Home Cinema.
Yeah. Which is fantastic. And I still need to... Is Faces Places still on there?
I believe it is, yeah.
That's one of my films I need to... It's on my list of things to see.
I don't know that one.
It's a film by starring Agnes Varda.
It's directed and starring.
Yeah, and she goes through with an artist whose name I can't remember, and they go around taking
JR.
JR.
Yeah.
And they go around taking pictures of people's faces and
In
blow
places.
them up to the size of skyscrapers and put them on the side of buildings. It sounds a bit odd, but if you just watch the trailer, you're just like, I want to see how that film plays out.
It's a really sweet film.
Cool.
Yeah, we actually did an episode on that as well.
Yeah, well, I think I'll probably listen to it. Today we're talking about Roma, which was your choice, Kelly.
Yeah.
So can you tell us why you chose it and give us a 2-minute synopsis?
Yeah, sure. So I chose it because I think it's probably one of the best films I've seen in the last 10 years. Well, huge statement, but I stand by it.
Let's see how the rest of the 20 odd minutes plays out, and if we agree with you.
Okay. I just think it was a brilliantly made film. It really moved me. I saw it twice. And I just fell in love with it. I feel like it's a film that is rarely made these days. And I think he's a genius filmmaker, and I just loved every moment of it. So that's why I chose it.
And before you talk about it. You said you saw it twice. How did you watch them? Those,
but both in the big screen.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
Yeah.
Jealous here. Okay.
So it's basically it's a film by Alfonso Cuarón. It takes place between 1970 and 1971 in Roma, a neighborhood in Mexico City where Cuarón grew up, and it basically follows the story of Cleo, which is who's based on Libo, Cuarón's sort of domestic worker and nanny growing up in real life. And it's a movie based solely on his memories and a retelling of sort of her story from her perspective. And the film's dedicated to her as well. So it's an intensely personal story. And a very humanist story as well, I think.
Is Cuarón represented in any of the children in the family?
Yeah. He's the youngest son. I think his name is Pepe.
Yeah.
I think that was his name. Well, that's who it's based on, I think.
Yeah.
And he's the little kid who sort of has the foretelling, like he sort of retells his past lives to her, just in passing. So I think that's who his character's supposed to be based on.
Cool. What did you guys think of it before? You said already one of the best films of the past 10 years, so that's wearing your heart on your sleeve there. What do you reckon, Sam?
It was definitely one of my favourites of last year. I saw it with Kelly on the big screen, and this was her second time watching it, my first time. And I turned around at one point and she was sobbing, like, intensely sobbing. And it took me about half an hour to really get into it, I think, because I had no idea what this film was about or what I was going to expect. I just heard it was amazing. And all the trailers, they didn't really sell it for what it was. And it took me time to really get absorbed into that world that he was putting forward to us. And yeah, I loved it.
I think that was also intentional, no?
Yeah.
The sort of slow build, and he sort of sucks you in slowly. I mean, I sort of said this thing to people where I was like, well, the opening titles are either you feel like you're gonna love it or hate it. It's kind of foretelling of the, because it's very slow.
Yeah.
It's just
Takes
water
sweet
washing
time.
over the tiles, and that's the pace of the movie is telling you what the pace of the movie is going to be in the first sort of 30 seconds.
Well, I loved it. I mean, I watched it as soon as I realised that it was on Netflix, because I didn't realise that it had such a short cinema lifespan.
Yeah.
And
so were you trying to get to see it in the cinema?
Yeah, I looked at every cinema possible, and it had just gone. I'd missed it. And then I was like, it's on Netflix. I need to remedy this straight away. It's just, they don't make films like this anymore. And it's really beautiful. There's some kind of bizarre, funny moments as well. But I really loved it.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this film. I'm jealous that you guys saw it on the big screen. and it's going to play into the small screen score. I'm going to tell you that right now. But what was your kind of knowledge of how much experience had you guys had of Cuarón before? Because I think this is his most personal film, but I think his history before this is still like stellar.
Yeah, this is his fourth masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. So I'd say Y tu mamá también, Gravity, Children of Men, and...
Now, what? The one... Roma?
And Roma, of course, yeah.
What are you talking about? The one we're on.
Yeah, what we're talking about. And that one. I think... And when directors say, oh, this is going to be my most personal film... I think that you're sometimes, that's met with an eye roll, I think sometimes. You're like, oh, here we go. It's a director kind of just telling a story just because they want to tell it, not because they feel like there's a need to tell it. And I think, do you remember the Francis Ford Coppola film, Tetro?
Nope.
Exactly. So this is one he made like later in his career, and it was black and white, and it was sort of loosely based on his childhood, and it's so like self-indulgent. And I was worried that this was going to be the same, but I think using just his memories, he's made something really, really so like transcendent and beautiful.
Yeah, he said in interviews in the past that the movie is 80 to 90% based on his memories alone.
Yeah.
It's literally just... and he's also said something that I love this quote. He said he wanted the movie to feel as though a ghost of the present is visiting the past and sort of just playing out in those sort of slow, sort of meandering terms. Because
it does take, and like you said from the start, it does take its kind of sweet time about even the opening scene.
Yeah.
And I mean, but from the start, you're kind of like, I like how this looks, but I'm not sure what's happening here. I'm not sure what's going on here. And I mean, Cuarón has worked with Chivo from the start, Manuel Lubezki. And for me, there's a few things in this film. It's like, Cuarón hasn't got Lubezki, so he shot this himself.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I was like, well, that shot looks amazing, but also fuck off, mate. How are you doing that?
Exactly.
That's ridiculous, because there's so many times where the cameras look static and then it pans and then it tracks across.
Yeah.
And like and some of the scenes and shots are so long. You just think, how have you actually put that together in a way that doesn't look contrived? It doesn't look like, it looks super supernatural. So when you talk about the ghost, just hovering there, it's just like the ghost's there and it floats along and it turns around the corner and they're still like following this thing. There's so many shots like that which are like actually like, people wouldn't recognize how good they are when they compare to like Gravity and stuff like that. But that kind of cinematography is like fantastic.
100%.
And he hasn't got his main cinematographer mate doing that with him. So he's done. Who the fuck is this guy?
He's a show-off.
He's a big genius.
I think the thing as well is like with Children of Men and with Gravity, he is showing off. He's showing you, this is what you can do with filmmaking if you really push every single element of it, all the acting, the effects, the camera work. These are all the amazing things you can do. And here, he feels more restrained and pulled all of that back. It's just as impressive, not more impressive, but the camera feels a lot more invisible here. I mean, I know you said that the camera work is beautiful, but I didn't spend the whole film like being too aware of the camera, because in Children of Men, like the water will splash on the lens and it will stay on there, and the same in Gravity, like things will hit the camera, so it breaks that wall. This one doesn't do that so much.
So what happened for me is that the scene would be playing out, and then I'd suddenly realise, this has been like going on for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and
it takes you a while. Yeah,
and we've moved from one like location to like 3 other places, and that's when I'd be like,
and on a rewatch
like,
as well, you're just like, whoa, I didn't realise that this was this complex in the beginning. Because I think that you're not intended to, right? I think you are supposed to be sucked into it completely, just like lose yourself in the story, and he does that so well. But yeah, when you do watch it with the second time, and you kind of are looking out for the more technical aspects of the film, it's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. Just also his framing, the composition of the shots as well. You're just like, he's a genius. It's amazing. I love this film.
I will go back to you, Helen. But in terms of the award stuff, we just had the Golden Globes come out. Hopefully this will get some awards. Who kind of gives a shit in real life? But it'd be nice for Roma to be recognised in some way, but not just in the foreign language, I think.
It's probably going to end up there and would be...
What, foreign language?
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be nominated for Best Film.
I think it will be nominated for Best. I think it will be nominated.
Because it's up to 10 films.
Yeah.
But whether they choose it is a different thing.
I think it's got the potential to win. I mean, the Golden Globes has shown that this awards season is not over yet. There's a long way to go before we know who's actually going to win. There's no locking. I think the only lock-in actually is that this will win Best Foreign Language Film. I think that's the only award that is a definite shoe-in, yeah.
But cinematography has got to be up there.
I'd love it to win cinematography. And I think he's got a real chance at Best Director as well.
There's another black and white film that came out this year, which people are lauding, in Cold War, which is one of your favourites of last year.
Yeah,
Ellen.
That's not been as popular in terms of kind of reach as Roma.
How was
Roma's
it looking?
been much bigger.
In terms of visual aspects, that was shot in a much more muted.
They had like a square ratio.
It's kind of got the same feel. I mean, it's very much, a kind of perfect period piece that you watch it and you get completely sort of enveloped in the era that you're in, and you just kind of forget everything else, and all you think about and feel is what's going on the screen. So it is quite similar in that sense, even though kind of the storytelling and kind of this topic is a little bit different.
I think, Karen.
Oh no, I was just going to say we did an episode of Cold War, and Sam got to interview the actors, and that was also definitely one of my favorites of last year as well. Brilliant.
Big year, black and white.
Big year for period black and white pieces.
It's like all the films next year were black and white because they did so well. So you said for Cuarón, for Tu Mamá También, Gravity,
Children of Men,
and this.
Yeah.
No, Prisoner of Azkaban.
I love Prisoner of Azkaban. I do think that's the best Harry Potter film.
Probably is. I can't remember the storyline.
That's the one with the werewolf, and they have the time turner at the end.
Don't they all have the werewolf? I don't know. I don't know.
It is a really good Harry Potter film, though, the one he did. And I love the story that Del Toro had to talk him into doing it.
Yeah.
Because he thought, oh, this is trash. I'm not going to waste my time with a children's book. And then Del Toro's like, no, you're being arrogant. You've got to do it.
I love how those guys work together. Like him, Iñárritu, Del Toro, and Cuarón are like busy mates.
Yeah.
And like properly push each other on.
Slowly taking over cinema.
Yeah.
Well, good. Because it's like interesting cinema. No matter what you think of Shape of Water, it's like a divisive film, but it's still like, hey, this looks like stunning. It's a different type of film. You wouldn't just get this in the standard Hollywood system. But I love how those three guys have come from Mexico City doing personal films, Y Tu Mamá También, Amores Perros. Still some of my favourite films, not just foreign films. I just think they're fantastic. And then they've come to Hollywood, done amazing big blockbuster films, at the same time doing their small personal films.
Yeah.
And it's just like, who are these people who come from a place where no one really would have considered to have like a dearth of filmmakers, and they're great friends as well. And like super stoked when Del Toro won his director award.
Yeah, they're all, and as you said, they spur each other on and they push each other, and they also share their work. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't know, is that they kind of sort of share the screenplay at the early stages, but this one was different because Cuarón didn't show either of them.
Really?
Yeah, his screen. He showed no one the screenplay.
Didn't Iñárritu produce this as well, or was he involved in some way?
I'm not too sure. Maybe he produced. I think he might be on as a producer, but he showed no one the screenplay because he said that he wanted it to be totally his memories sort of come to life, I think it shows. It's totally his film.
Talking of memories, I really like the little nod to Gravity when we're at the cinema.
There's a few nods to his other previous films dotted in this, isn't there?
Yeah, so that is Marooned, the film they go to see at the cinema with the astronaut stranded in space. And when I first saw this, I thought, okay, we get it. Like a nice little wink to the audience, haha. But watching it again, I think I kind of more saw that as like a comment about how the film is so like every moment has profoundly affected every single character's life, and how it's talking about memory is just made up of these small little moments that you don't think of at the time, but actually have these huge effects on you in the future. I just like this idea of Cuarón being 6 or 7 in the cinema watching this film, and then 30, 40 years later winning Best Director at the Oscars for a film influenced by that. Yeah. And that's what the film does really well. And you write about this, about memory.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. I wrote a piece for our blog on our blog site.
Well, send us a link to it and we'll
I will. Yeah, I kind of wrote about memory and just sort of just the choices people make and how they sort of affect different people, and not realizing, what your actions can sort of have on someone else, or like I think it's shown a lot in the men's actions in the film, is that they make a decision and sort of the rest of the people have to sort of live with the consequences. Yeah. Like the father, or Fermin.
Fermin, yeah.
Fermin, yeah. So it's just that also. Yeah,
when Fermin shows up at the in the store after the riot.
Well, let's talk about. Let's take about to Cleo. Really, yeah. We haven't talked much about Cleo, and it's her story based on The Maid. Helen, take us through Cleo.
So, I mean, she is the star of the film. I'm not sure of the background or how she came to be in this project, but
she's not. This is her first acting.
Not an actress.
Yeah.
I mean, it's someone that.
Which again, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
I mean, it's someone that you're just instantly with from the moment you meet them. It's just a normal person living their life with these sort of moments of complete normal life, and then incidents of kind of sort of violence, I guess, at different moments. And she's just there throughout the whole film, always there for the family, and always just this one constant thing that they have.
Did she even cry before the end?
No,
I don't think so.
Oh, she cried a little bit in the scene where her baby dies.
Right.
But I think she's a very stoic kind of character all throughout. And you kind of do get the sense that she's just doing what she needs to do to survive. And that's who she is, And I love this idea that like he's following someone just living their daily life, but it's infused with such drama, and you really realize that that is what life is, basically. It's just like mundane nothingness until something happens, and then you sort of it sparks something, and you go off, and then it goes back, kind of finds its a balance again, an equilibrium, and he so she's a stoic character that sort of she just kind of isn't fussed. She's going about her business until her life changes in different ways, but I think the movie at the base of it is about the human connection, and like a real bond between people, and what life just brings you together, and how you sort of, that's what life is. It's like, that's what existence would kind of mean. I think he's a very existentialist filmmaker.
Do you feel that because it was coming from the youngest boy's point of view, if we take that interpretation, that he perhaps didn't understand? I mean, we didn't see the scenes where, even though Cleo is the main character, we don't see the scenes where she's like, she finds out she's pregnant, and then Firmin, her quote unquote boyfriend, like fucks off and leaves her alone. And in other films, that would have been like the center point of like her breaking down, and you would have seen like, oh, what do I do? Do I go through an abortion? But that never seemed to be.
No, it's just like taken in stride.
The film's kind of a slow burn into us figuring out who Cleo actually is as well, because even though she's in every scene, and it feels like she's in every shot as well, which is actually a lot of pressure to put on an actress who's never been in a film before. And the actress Yalitza Aparicio, who I think she was a school teacher. Yeah,
she didn't want to be in the film.
Yeah.
He'd begged her, basically, and she was like, oh, well, I'll only be in the film if my best friend Nancy can be in the film. And he was like, okay, we'll put her in the film. And then Nancy was the other maid. So it's actually her best friend who played opposite her. And you can kind of tell they have like a special...
No, you said that,
yeah.
But yeah, it takes time for her, because often she's just kind of going along with either doing what she's told with the family, or she's even when she's with her friends, she's very quiet and very internal, and it takes a lot of time for that to really explode and come out of her, and you see like what kind of character she really is and what her feelings and her desires and everything is. But that helps, because it helps you really get this kind of interest in her, to figure out who this person is that the camera's always on.
Yeah, you actually really care about her, so that it kind of makes it even more affecting. That by that's the ocean scene, which is, I think, I was absolutely blown away by the scene, just everything about it. That when she feels that catharsis at the end, she couldn't swim, and so you feel it as well. You really are with her side by side all the way, because you've been lulled into this. You live literally living through her, and I think that's the genius of his filmmaking.
And that was another one of those fuck off scenes where I was just like,
stop it now.
Behave.
Bloody showing off.
Take the young kid, make sure he's safe, make sure he's protected from the sun. All the kids are in the waves somewhere. You can't find them. You can hear like them off in the distance. She just walks in, it just saves them and pulls them out, and everyone suddenly gathers around to what is one of the best shots I've seen on. We're pointing at the picture wall here, but if you've seen a picture of Roma, you've seen the shot where the aftermath of the save, and the whole family's gathered round together, and that's all like one shot. There's like a 7 or 8 minute shot, and it finishes with that shot, that one image, and you're just like, what is going, how?
And that's the emotional high point of the whole film. Is like that's when she really shows you how she feels, after this crisis has happened, and she's just kind of gone. It's a kind of a mini metaphor for the whole film, because she's kind of like she just kind of did what she needed to do. Even though she couldn't swim.
That birth scene, Helen. I'm looking at you because you've been a bit quiet.
I mean, it's terrifying, isn't it? Really, because you're there with her, but you kind of get a feeling that it's probably not going to turn out very well.
The hallmarks are there from the start.
Yeah, it's total trauma, isn't it? That's all that is. And the build up from these really violent protests that are happening very much in the background, but the fact that this character who at this point you really love is in this situation amongst all this going on around her, and then it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and they're stuck in traffic as well on the way after they're held up in this shop. And it just ramps up and it happens so quickly. The birth, and the doctor tells her that the baby's died so sort of matter of fact and so quick, and you're like,
and she's completely on her own as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it's hard. Honestly, that's when I like from that moment on, I just couldn't stop crying for the rest of the film. Both times I saw it, I knew I was coming. I couldn't stop it.
I mean, we've talked a lot of the more sadder ones, but there are some quite funny moments in it as well, because the other female character is the mother of the house, Sophia, and at the same time, she's going through a marital breakup. And I particularly enjoy like the juxtaposition of the husband returning the car home and his precision of parking to her returning the car home pissed and
that's a total
smashing the shit out of it.
Fuck you to the house, fuck you to the car.
And little things like that, which, I mean, the women carry this film. Men do not come off particularly well in this film. And I mean, there is a lot of shit as well, actual shit.
Yeah.
From Boris, is that the dog?
Boris the dog.
Yeah. Who basically...
Not very well house trained.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously a beloved pet, but basically just spends most of his time shitting in the alleyway.
But also, I was kind of thinking to Cleo and Cleo's friend, like, clean up the shit when it's there. Who needs to tell you that to clean it up?
But I think you get the sense that it like happens all the time.
Yeah,
like
so
literally,
like,
they would just be cleaning shit like
They should
in a
take
loop.
Boris to the vet. I think that's too much.
That's too much dog shit.
Yeah, he's got an
got
upset
something wrong
stomach.
with him.
Yeah.
Do you not want to talk about Firmin and his mad martial arts skills?
Oh yeah.
And Professor, what's his name? Professor, I've written it down here. Zovic. That weird.
The man who can stand on one leg.
Yeah. And no one else can but Cleo.
But Cleo, yeah. There's also some like little peppering of magic realism in ways in this film. A lot of it is, some of it you're like, you don't realize it when you're watching it, but afterwards you're like, whoa, what was that fire scene? That was weird.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really
They go to
dreamlike.
a weird party, don't they? This weird party
So
of
a New Year's Eve
Americans, maybe. I guess some of them are American.
There's a mix of different people.
Yeah.
Where they go shooting and have
It's
parties.
like weird. I think a lot of those weird surreal moments, dreamlike moments, happen with nature. Like the earthquake in the hospital is another one of those, and like
Again, during the earthquake, everyone else was running around. She was just steadfast.
just chilled.
What was she doing during the fire scene? Because everyone else was running around. I can't remember recalling what
she looking after the
Cleo was doing.
kids.
Yeah,
I
she
can't
was
remember.
helping put out little patches with the kids.
Ineffectual firefighting with buckets of water.
I think these bits play into memory again because they're like these moments where you're like, did it happen like that? I'm pretty sure it happened like that. That's weird when I think about it, but I'm sure it happened like that.
Yeah, and it makes you realize again, like, oh, I'm watching something from someone's memory. That's kind of the effect. I love the sort of play on nature in this film as well. Just like also just realizing those elements of life that you're not in control of, you know, and like the effects that something can have on you that you kind of just have to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
What has anyone tried to stand on their leg with the eyes closed?
I know I can't do it.
You're doing yoga all the time.
With your eyes closed?
Yeah.
I've never done that yoga.
Going to the wrong yoga, mate.
I don't think so.
You're not zen enough.
No, I've never actually tried it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, after whilst watching the film, I thought, can I do that? And then I completely forgot to try.
Well,
so
we can try later.
I will try later and do that. But she was the only person that could do it out of the hundreds of people. She was very pregnant, and she was the only person that could do it, which is again an indicator of what kind of person she is. Firmin's naked bow skills. I mean, is that what you wanted to talk about?
I mean, if we're talking about villains in it, then he's the villain of the story, I think. I mean, you kind of do feel a little bit sorry for him to begin with, and then you just realise he's just a bit of a prick. And she knows that as well.
Well, when that walkout scene, that's just harsh. That's proper harsh.
I didn't expect to see him again. I kind of felt he was just a sort of pathetic loser, and that was it for him. But then when he comes back with the kind of large martial arts scene, you think, okay, where is this character going? And then when he shows up in the last bit in the shop, you're like, okay, this character is a baddie. Like, he's a bad person now.
But I think that also that it was interesting for Cuarón to frame it like that, because it's all the political sort of uprising and student protests that are happening at the time is social and political context for what was happening sort of when he was growing up. but it's never the focus. I think a lesser film would have made it the focus of the
And
movie.
never really explained.
Yeah, it's just in the background. It's like happening, you know.
Again, I guess if it's from a young boy's point of view, it's just like stuff that's happening in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed the Mexico 70 World Cup sticker, and that's probably was the main thing that was in his kind of sphere of influence at that kind of time. I remember like stuff like happening with the miners' strikes when I was younger. I just remember it being on a TV, but having not one fucking clue about what it meant up until...
Yeah, and actually Del Toro does that really well in his films, like in Devil's Backbone. You kind of have... is it the end of the Spanish... Is the end of World War II? Is that right, Devil's Backbone? And then Pan's Labyrinth has the Spanish Civil War.
Yeah.
These are things that are just kind of in the background, just to give context to these events. And yeah, so obviously it's something that they share, this idea that giving things context without making them the focus, and they're really skilled at it.
Do you guys have, before going to the scores, do you have a favourite of the three amigos based on the films?
I definitely not Inarritu. He's my least favourite.
He's won the most, though.
I know, but that's why. The Revenant.
He's a bit cocky now, is he?
Nah, the Revenant I wasn't into it. I think he's getting a bit ahead of himself. Like,
Right.
Chill out, bro. Like,
And he stole Chivo off...
He did.
yeah. Asshole. No, it gave him a turn
I can remember that phone
to
call.
shine.
Alfonso, I've got some really good shit coming up. Can I steal your main man? Yeah, of course. Yourself. So not Inarritu.
Nah.
Okay.
I mean, I like all three. I think after Roma, I might be edging towards Cuarón. I was always a Del Toro boy, and I have I have the big Del Toro book, The Cabinet of Curiosities, which is like his notebook, but blown up into like a coffee table sized book. I love that book, but
They do different things so well.
they do different things, yeah. And I think it might be Cuarón after Roma. I think he's got more to give. Maybe, I don't know.
H.
I don't have a favourite. I like them all for different reasons.
Is the Cheater's Way Out. I think I'm going for Cuarón. Utumama Tambien is one of my favourite films when I was learning how to watch foreign films, and I think it's just still amazing now. And this is amazing. I don't think I'll watch Gravity again, though.
See, this is it. Like, I enjoyed watching Gravity at the cinema, but I'm never going to watch it again.
Yeah.
I love Gravity.
I love that movie.
Seen it many times. Yeah.
But Children of Men is lovely.
It's one of the best films of the 21st century.
100%, yeah.
But the other guys, I don't care for them as much. I really love Amores Perros. I think that's my favourite Inarritu film. But I think we've had Birdman on here.
Yeah, which is a very mixed film.
I don't like Birdman that much. I really like The Revenant. You hate it, don't you, Kelly?
I don't hate it. I just think that it got way too much praise for what it was, and I thought it was there was like moments where I scoffed a lot. I was just like, "Oh, are you choking? Is that really what's happening right now? The stupid cave wall scene? God, no, get stuffed." Nah, there were moments I was just like, "No, I'm not into it."
I think a lot of the praise for Birdman and The Revenant were both on Chivo as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah. I like Birdman, but I thought it was a good film. I just don't think it deserved all the praise.
Well, that was the year
got.
that Boyhood should have won.
Yeah, 100%.
It will always be the year that Boyhood didn't win.
and also
Exactly.
it was Whiplash in that year as well.
It was, I think, yeah.
So it was a tough year, but I would.
Good year for films about drumming, though.
Yeah, good year. Well, Birdman wasn't about drumming, but
Had a hell of a lot of it.
Hell of a lot of it in there. Guys, let's head to the scores.
Okay.
So welcome to our Flixwatcher scores. All the scores are out of 5, and you can have decimal places if you wish. And we will start with you, Kelly, with recommendability, because you chose it.
5. No, I recommend everybody to watch this film. I think it's one that everyone should see if they can. Thanks to Netflix, now they can.
Yeah, true. Only $7.99 a month. For your first 2 weeks free. I don't know what the deal is anymore. I got Netflix like 5 years ago. Sam?
I wholeheartedly agree with a 5. I think, and we'll get onto this maybe with the small screen score, but the fact that Netflix have given it, the fact it's on Netflix and everyone can watch it anytime, there's no excuse not to watch this film. I think having a different release, a black and white foreign language film with no clear plot is very hard to recommend to some people. But I would try everything I can to recommend it to someone.
Do you think, it's been like 5 years since Gravity. And was he just taking his sweet time? I don't know. Has he had other things in development before this, and this was just like the thing that popped up, or is he
I don't know what he was doing.
I think this was started a long time ago. I think this has been in development, well, at least in idea form for a very long time. I'm not too sure why.
Maybe before Netflix, he couldn't get this kind of film made.
Maybe, yeah.
And that's that's a lot of the argument around Netflix is these days as well.
Giving a chance.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And giving filmmakers the money that a studio wouldn't give them.
Yeah.
And the space.
The space, yeah.
The space and also distribution.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
now the whole world can see it straight away.
Because this has a $15 million budget, which, I mean, when you have a Marvel movie costing between 200 and 300 million, that's quite a small figure. But I mean, 15 million for a film with no stars in a non-English language, all in black and white with no plot, that's still pretty big, I think. And the other thing I've heard people say a lot is that it's not just about the money with Netflix, it's that they give him the space and the time. I think this was quite a long shoot for what it is.
Oh, I can imagine.
But yeah, because he really had to get everything, because everything's so perfect in it, isn't it? That way, like all the stuff in the background and the foreground and the set.
All about the details.
All the details. So that gives him that time. There's no like studio like going, you finished it? Yeah, you finished it yet? They give him that space and that breathing room to really get what he wants from it.
Yeah. Which goes to show. I mean, look at the end product when you give filmmakers a chance.
Helen.
So I'm also going to give this a 5, even though I know that there are people out there who are going to hate this, who are going to go, what? I'm not watching a film that's black and white, subtitles, over 2 hours, nothing happens. I mean, there will be a lot of people that this film is not for, but I think this is a real treat for fans of cinema who really kind of appreciate all of the elements of cinema. And yeah, it's one of the best films of last year, easily, by far.
Did you watch it last year or this year?
Ooh, I think I watched it before New Year's, so okay. I watched it last year, yeah.
I'm giving this a 4.5 because I do count the people who I wouldn't be able to recommend this to because they will...
You're standing up for them.
Not standing up for them, I'm just empathetic. If someone recommended a film which I wouldn't like, I'd hate them for it. Not that I think everyone should see it, but I just know a lot of people will not want to not like it at all. And so it's for those people that it loses a 0.5, not because of the quality of film, but because those people, black and white,
for people out there.
Black and white, nope. Foreign language, non-English, get out. Like, how long is it? No explosions. Like,
I mean, I guess I wouldn't. I just wouldn't talk to those people.
Sometimes you just got to mix with those people, haven't you?
Sometimes.
But yeah, 4.5, which is, hey, super strong for me. Repeat viewing score, Kelly.
I'll give this 4.8.
So you've seen this twice now?
I've seen it twice. I think I'll watch it every year if I can. If it's gonna remain on Netflix, it will be one that I come back to over and over. I just don't. I think I need to. I think it might be better to give it some time in between viewings, just for it to sit and stew and new things to come to light depending on where I am in life. But I would definitely come back to this film.
Sam,
I'd go 4.5 for similar reasons. I think you need to really give this room space to breathe. I think you need to give it some gaps to really muse on it and to think about it. And also, it's quite an exhausting film, like emotionally. It's not a film you wouldn't watch this film on a plane, for example, where you just want to have something quite light and fluffy to get through. It's quite exhausting. It's quite draining. It's emotionally intense. So yeah, I think 4.5 for me.
You've only seen it once as well?
Only once.
Yeah. Helen?
So I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to go for a 3. I will watch this again, but I'm probably not going to be in a massive rush. I think what you said, Sam, it's quite a long emotional journey. And sort of at the end of it, you're a bit like, whoa.
Yeah.
Strung out.
Yeah.
I will watch it again, but not immediately in a rush.
Yeah, I'm going to go, touch harder than you, but on the same kind of lines, go 3.6. And I think it's there's kind of films where you rewatch because you're just like, I need to see that again. That's amazing. And you want to watch it straight away, like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I've seen that like twice in like 5 days, and I will watch it again before it goes out to the cinema. This is a film that you have to watch again because there's so much. And like you said, Sam, since watching it, I've just been like, what the fuck? Oh, fuck. How did that happen? Okay, good. Right. And just like unpicking it, it's almost like stuff triggers in my mind.
Yeah.
Like with the fire scene, I'd completely forgotten about that. But then whilst watching that again, that's a scene that's like 8 hours with fire. And then suddenly some guy speaking I think it's some Scandinavian language, does some little poem and then walks off into the
Dressed
distance.
in a bear outfit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just like, what's going on in this film exactly? But it's all fine. So I need to see that again because I need to see how those pieces put together for the technical and for the emotional. Fuck yeah. So I need to watch it again, but how often I watch it again and when I watch it again is the why it's going slightly lower.
Not as much as Spidey.
Not as much as Spidey into the Spider-Verse. 3.6. Small screen score.
Oh.
Don't feel down that you're gonna have to just
lower
give the score,
it. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. I think out of 5. Just because, I mean, I'm grateful to Netflix for having it and for making this movie possible, but it just isn't the same. I'm sorry. It's just, sorry, Helen. No, it isn't. I mean, I'm sure at some point in the future this film will be shown. I mean, the Prince Charles or something will show it at some point in the future, and in which case, get your bums into those seats if you can. Just because it is spectacular on the big screen in a way that the movie-going experience is meant to be. But I just don't know if it's going to try. I haven't watched it on the small screen, so I don't actually know. I'm just sort of speculating.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a good enough film to transcend that. I think it will draw you in wherever you watch it.
Yeah.
But it's not the same experience for me.
Yeah, I'd go 3 on this one. Because I think that even though you're right, Netflix has allowed this kind of film to have a wider viewership. I think in every interview Cuarón has given, he talks about the cinematic value of it. And I think that translating that to a small screen does take maybe something away from it. And I think, it still gets a 3. It's still above half. Because it's such an impressive film. But I think, it's something slightly lost in that translation.
Helen?
I tried really hard to see this. It just gone.
It's not your fault.
I tried so hard. I'm going to go for a 4 because I've only seen it on a TV size screen, and I did enjoy it. I don't think you could watch it on a laptop or anything smaller. I think that would just be. There's just too much detail in there to try and get there. So I tried my best with what I had. And it's getting kind of a slightly elevated score because I do think it's really important that Netflix make a film like this. Because
absolutely.
If the studios aren't going to make them, then who is going to make them? Because no one is going to make them.
Yeah.
And if Netflix continue to do this, I mean, it'd be nice if they had some more films by female directors.
Yeah.
But this is a really amazing piece for them to be behind, and if it goes on and wins more awards, then hopefully it'll give them a bit more sort of belief in what they are.
It's a step in the right direction for them, isn't it? Yeah. And did you see the press conference after the Golden Globes with Cuarón, where a reporter asked him, the film is on Netflix now, is this the end of cinema? And Cuarón got quite annoyed at this question. He was like, nope, this film got a far wider cinematic release than it would have if not for Netflix.
Yeah. So Netflix, this year, 2018, they've started to push out films in the cinema for at least like a 2-week period. Yeah. Well, I guess maybe some tentpoles ones, because Bird Box, I don't think had a release.
No, it did. Bird Box was in cinemas for about a week.
Was it?
Yeah.
So they are... So in some cases, I don't think Bright had much of a release, did it? Or
it had a week.
That was long enough for people to go, avoid this film.
Yeah. It was kind of doing their bare minimum to get a notch on the awards category nomination thing, but not really. Because I think some films just literally had a week in one screen somewhere.
So they were eligible for awards season. Yeah.
But Roma was across all the Curzons in London at least for like a week, and then it spread out to more places. So I could have got to see it. It just didn't really work out that well. So I think next year, I think 2019, you'll see a lot more films that Netflix release with wider cinema screen, and then do almost like this Curzon home screen kind of viewership, where if you can't see, you can still see at home.
Exactly.
Kind of model, and I really like that. I really appreciate that.
And some of those will be terrible. But for every Bright, there's, a Roma, I guess, or a Roma and a Beast of No Nation.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they choose to put more kudos on. Because Bird Box, they put lots of advertising on.
Yeah, they really push that hard.
But if it was only out for a week on the cinema, then it shows they are thinking about which films they want to push out in the cinema more than they want to be in the homes, in the kind of like, just watching Netflix, guys, because you paid for it already.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of thinking.
If it came back to the cinema, I would go out and see it.
Yeah.
Like, if it came out next week, I would go.
I think, let's see where it comes to awards, because when it comes to awards, if it does win anything,
come back.
They sometimes bring them
That'd
back.
be nice.
Yeah.
So look out for that, guys. Small screen score. For me, I'm going lower, 2.8, because the thing about the small screen score as well, on a film like this, I didn't feel as enveloped as I could have been.
Yeah.
And it was, this perhaps leads into the engagement score. There's a few times where it could have been quite easy just to leave the room and like dance around. But I think with the engagement score, with the cinema, you just can't, you rooted to it. So it's kind of a double whammy. But yeah, 2.8, I think, for the small screen score. I really want to see it on a big screen. That would just be
fingers crossed.
Need to see it on a big screen. Engagement score, Kelly.
5. I don't know if you know, but I love this film.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost myself both times in this movie, so it's just purely from feel. But I couldn't. That's literally is what I felt when
No, it's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I give it a 5.
One of your best films of 10 years. The past 10 years.
I mean, come on.
Last decade. Sam.
I'm going to go for a 5 as well. I mean, even though it took me half an hour to really kind of understand what I was in for, once I was into it, I really didn't think about anything else other than that film. And I think that, this goes back to it helps being in the cinema to watch it. But I was fully there. Like, I wasn't, not another thought entered my brain apart from what was happening on that screen and what's going on in Cleo's life. So full engagement from me.
Helen.
See, I have to kind of be honest. So I tried to watch this quite late at night, and I find it quite soothing, and had a little sleep through most of it, and then picked it up again. So I can only be honest. So I'm going to give it a 4.7 for the first time.
The little nap in between.
So the first time I've seen the start and the finish twice, but not like 2 hours of it. So I can have to drop it down.
Your little confession there. I'm going 4.9, and that 0.1 is because the film took myself out of the film. The amount of times I just thought, how have you done that?
Yeah.
Genuinely, I was just like, oh, wait a minute, and more so than Gravity, because Gravity is just like, this is a spectacle, I'm just going to allow, there's the Earth, I've never seen the Earth before, that's fine, but just literally the technical feat in this film, I just don't think people understand how much of an achievement this is to make it, and that's what took me out of the film, which is insane.
You're a nerd.
Yeah, I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
So one of my best friends is a cinematographer. I've been on film sets before, and just seeing how those things get set up. That beach scene, water, sand,
insane
length of time, kids,
yeah.
Again, fuck off.
Yeah.
So that's why it loses the 0.1 for
engagement.
Yeah.
It's too good for its own good.
And that gives us an overall score of 4.3.
That's very high.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is a decent score, guys. Let's go to Twitter.
So I was going to say, every time we are recording a podcast, we will put a little shout out on Twitter, and it's easy to find because there'll always be a little GIF there that you can see. So today we're reviewing Roma with KS_Power and Sam Howlett _1. Lots of underscores going on there from Curzon Cinemas. Have you seen us? Tell us your thoughts for our on-air shout out on Flixwatcher. So look out for those. So if you'd like to read the first one, Kelly.
Oh, sure. Okay, this is Death by Film Podcast. A work of art and an extremely personal and beautiful story. There's no reason this should appeal to anyone but Cuarón, but it does. And if it doesn't connect with you, you can certainly appreciate the incredible execution and filmmaking.
Yeah. Sam, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. This is from @IMDb Journey. Technically amazing and beautiful cinematography with some fantastic scenes that will sit with me for a while. However, the first half is a bit of a drag and the very slow pace did take its toll on me. So it's given 3 stars and 1 lightning bolt. interesting ranking system.
Yeah. I mean, we either say that's 3.5 or 4. How are we going to go with that?
Let's go 3.5. I think based on what the IMDb Journey podcast said before that. Guys, thank you so much for your time. 4.3 for a foreign language film in black and white. Which should
Very
be seen
high.
in cinema. I thought it was going to be a bit lower than that because I thought the small screen score would be a bit lower. But you guys have rallied that a bit. Can you let us know where we can find you online and say sayonara to the listener?
Yeah,
One listener. That's
the
you.
Curzon Podcast is out every Friday. You can find us on Acast, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us through the Curzon blog, which has its own website as well.
Yeah. And personally, I'm on Letterboxd. And my username is KellyPEE, or on Twitter, KS_Powell.
Yes, and I'm on Twitter at SamHowlett_1. And thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
guys.
Bye.
We say goodbye, not you.
Sorry, I'm used to it.
Taken over.
Thanks for listening. You can find all of the episodes on our website, flixwatcher.tv. Want to give us your 5-star review? Follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter. Big shout out to our editor, Brendan Russell, for all his awesome editing skills. And thanks as always to the mighty people for their tunes.